Welcome to our daily reflection for this Thursday, January 14th. I want to focus on the first reading that we get in the Mass today, and that is the reading from the Epistle to the Hebrews. And this Epistle to the Hebrews, chapter 3, starts off with the Holy Spirit says, and then it quotes from Psalm 95. And then we're going to get this quote from Psalm 95, and the theme of Psalm 95 is about, if today you hear the voice of the Lord, harden not your hearts. So the theme is don't have a hard heart. And then the application to this about not having a hard heart, not having an erring heart, is to enter into God's rest. And how do you do that? Well, the problem that Psalm 95 is talking about is that Israel, traveling in the wilderness, is not going to make it to its destination, which is the Promised Land, because that generation kept rebelling against God. They didn't trust God. They didn't believe in Him, and so they kept rebelling from Him, and so they didn't get the blessings that God wanted. They didn't enter into what Psalm 95 says was the rest. Yeah, it was weary going through the wilderness, but God had a plan that through the wilderness wanderings, you would come to a great respite and rest in the Promised Land. But they're not going to experience that rest He has for them because they rebelled. Rebellion means the loss of rest. And so that's going to be the lesson. And now the author of Hebrews, which I believe is Paul, but that's not certain, says, "Take care, brothers and sisters, that none of you may have an evil and unfaithful heart, so as to forsake the living God." In other words, for us Christians, we're in the midst of a new Exodus. And if in the original Exodus, the people of God rebelled in spite of having great signs, manna, the bread from heaven, and the crossing of the Red Sea, and miracles, the water from the rock, if in spite of all those miracles, they still blew it, we in the new Exodus can likewise blow it. And so what's needed is perseverance. That's going to be the key here. And so what does he say? Encourage yourselves daily. You need a daily encouragement to persevere. That's one of the reasons why we do the daily reflections, to get a daily encouragement to keep persevering in your walk every day in the Christian walk. Encourage yourselves daily while it is still today, so that none of you may grow hardened by the deceit of sin. In other words, what the author is saying is, we don't want you to get a hard heart. Now, heart disease is the hardening of the arteries. And so we know that our diet can lead to, heart disease. But one of the beautiful things is that, you can reverse heart disease with a radical change of diet. And so this is what the author is saying here. If we get rebellious, when we think negatively, and we get worldly, and we're not taking time daily to reflect and pray, and what happens is our spiritual heart gets hardened, and our spiritual arteries start to get hardened and heavy and clogged. But we can reverse that by changing our spiritual diet. We can change that. We can transform our heart. Our heart can be transformed from being egotistical and selfish, from being anxious and fearful, from being skeptical and doubtful, from being covetous and greedy, to becoming generous and trusting, to becoming liberal and loving. We can do that. We can do that, but we've got to change our spiritual diet to do that. And so he goes on and he says, "We have become partners of Christ if only we hold to the beginning of the reality that we've received until the end." Let's persevere. So let's resolve today for perseverance and ask God to give us the grace of perseverance and to do the daily things we need to persevere in the race set before us, so that we can make it through the wilderness of this world to the great rest God has in store for you in heaven. You don't want to miss that rest. God bless you.